Carlsbad, People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name is Brett Schonzenbach. I'm the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I'm your host today. And I'm pleased to have with me Kelly Griffin. Kelly is a teacher at Mission Estancia Elementary School here in our area. Kelly, thanks for joining me today.
I'm very excited. Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. You have an interesting little background here. Before you came our way and got involved with teaching and education, you started, or it looks like you started at a Westin hotel, not our Westin. We have a very well-known Westin here in Carlsbad, but at the Westin Hotel in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes.
So why the switch from hospitality to education? What was the thing there?
It's so funny. Everything is so is it synchronicitous? It's all kismet right now. So I just left staff Friday PD. And we were talking about prior careers, those that just leave college and start teaching.
Sure.
That's what you know, right?
Right.
And I am still new in the classroom when you look that some of these people really did start from college.
Right.
The Westin, I say every job's my favorite. I do. I can't work somewhere that I'm not fully engaged in value. The Westin was so much fun. And if I can say the biggest connection that's coming up is we're all about bucket filling. And so it's really understanding the true ripple of kindness, that intentional kindness is unbelievable.
Yes.
And when I worked as a Westin, that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
You're a front desk agent, right? It is a performance just like teaching. But my favorite thing is they would give me $100 a day to make someone's day.
No way.
So it started there. I swear, it's all...
That's so fun.
So if I saw a couple coming in, or Bill Snyder, the K-State head football coach,
right, I
could send them champagne. We had everything on site in Kansas City. It's a huge destination. It has Crown Center. And we could send them champagne and chocolate-covered roses, or I could go get something from the gift shop. And so I got to do kindness.
That's great.
And so you're searching for that dopamine, right? That, and that love of making someone's total stay.
Yeah.
And so then of course it comes back when I'm getting, these letters or these cards of appreciation. And
Sure.
I'm oh wow, I think I really love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's awesome. But what was the motivation to make the jump? Where did you decide to go into education?
Because how long and how much could I really pull from that over time? I think I was there about 7 years, but I did a health club manager, and I just knew that managing people wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I have always been so charismatic with kids, and a friend just suggested be a teacher. And it's funny, there's this piece of me that takes things very literally.
Yeah.
And if it's not in my box of can do or, optional, and I was okay. And I got my master's in elementary education. So It was a program. And then, the whole part of getting your master's in teaching is you get to do the teaching, your student teaching, and you're going to schools and interacting. And it was I can do this. This is going to be fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Going back to your earlier comment, though, about a lot of teachers kind of go straight into education, straight out of college, right?
Yeah.
And that's, for many teachers, that's the only thing they know, right? I always find it valuable. Now, this is the chamber guy talking, right? I always find it valuable to have people in the classroom who have had other world experience, job experience, career experience, because, and granted, you're working with elementary kiddos, but, and I know you work with a lot across a broad spectrum, but just having a different level of experience than just teaching, because, teachers are supposed to be forming the next workforce.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if all you do is teach,
not factory workers.
Yeah, you don't really know what you're doing in that sense. And that's not to downgrade, because I came from a family of teachers and love our teachers. So, and it looks like you started teaching then in about 2010. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what brought you out to our fair coast?
Yay. Yes, I had just emailed, actually, my first job that he had won Teacher of the Year as well. And I was like, remember me?
Yeah.
And he was like, of course. And actually in his response, he was like, I remember what most was your connection with the kids. And like, once again, you get that validation. But yeah, so fun fact, 20% of people leave the Midwest.
Yeah.
You know, it's 80% of people are born, raised, and raise their families there. And so
You're one of those 20%.
Yes. And it's San Diego, like no
Yeah.
less. Like it's not like I went to somewhere else Midwest. I mean, I came to the West Coast, Solana Beach, and I've been in Carlsbad. Carlsbad is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's a love story. My ex got a position out here to play for the San Diego Sockers as goalkeeper. In fact, they might be winning a championship right now. He's still doing that. And so I sold my house. And we packed up a 3-bedroom house, and it took 31 days for the moving truck to get out here.
Oh, my goodness.
I remember it backing into Carlsbad right off of Tamarack.
Wow.
With, we lived in Pacific Beach out of a shoebox with some suitcases for a while. And once you're here, I said I'd give it that 5-year mark. And now March 22nd was year 6.
Okay, so you're practically a local now.
Am I?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, you've adopted us, I'm sure, and I have no problem adopting you. So welcome. No, you have a very interesting, subject matter that you teach, and I say that not like math or all these other topics aren't interesting, but your specialty and your focus is the social. I'm going to try to say that correctly.
Yeah.
Social emotional learning programs.
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to start with you and have you talk about, because I feel like they're very important as a parent and such. So you talk about why you got into that and the value of it.
My favorite question, probably. So thank you for that. It is all I ever taught. So another one of my favorite jobs was the reason that close friend, Lindy, had said be a teacher is because after the Weston, I also worked for Johnson County Parks and Rec as like a summer camp teacher, a program director, and I found myself thriving chaos. And I also found myself with kids that are at schools from 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 p.m. And those kids come with a lot of challenges and a lot of behaviors and a lot of needs. And I fell in love with being able to, fix it? Because I could. I was seeing success in addressing issues that other people had passed or other people had I'm very good at paying attention to everything around me so I can, in a way it's hypervigilance, but in a way I can know how that child is feeling in a half-second glance. And so that gift, working with, 100 kids at a time and 10 camp counselors, like I saw it. But again, with that, there was some financial, like how far could you go? If you promote, you no longer get the kids. And so Lindy had said, try being a teacher. And so that's why I went that route. As far as social emotional learning, I look back at old newsletters that I would send to parents and like trying to bring them into their children's world. And there's a quote by L.R. Nost that has always been like the guiding light. And it's like the world, we're not meant to teach these kids to toughen up. And it's more meant to teach them to be more sensitive. And I have to look that quote up now because for some reason I can't picture it. But it is the guiding light of sensitivity is such a beautiful thing, and kids will soak it up. And so just seeing the success of it, it's all I ever wanted to do. Math, I cannot do math to save my life. Science, like the people are good at it, do it, right?
Yeah.
Like writing, like it just wasn't, I have to do something that changes the world. And it's like, I don't care if it's cheesy, it's authentic to me.
Yeah.
And so it's the only thing I can do. And the fact that being in a classroom teacher, in a way, I would almost have to give that up because there is the report cards, there is, the grades, the standards, the very things that I don't necessarily know how to teach with passion.
Right.
And then there's the character, and there's the child, and there's the needs, and it's just the best thing there is.
That's great. I don't think authenticity is ever cheesy, so I wouldn't go there at all. But I think I saw the quote that you're talking about on your social somewhere. But it was something to the effect of, we're not meant to toughen up sensitive kids. We're meant to help them soften the world, or it's the other way, something like that. I remember seeing it.
Are your listeners Googling, do you think?
Oh, they might be right now, but I'm sure by the time we're done, you'll figure this quote out, but that's okay. Let's do this. We're going to take a brief pause and let our sponsor message come in. We're talking to Kelly Griffin. She is a social emotional educator at Mission Estancia Elementary, and we'll be right back after this brief pause. So, Kelly, we were talking about your mission, your social emotional education mission, and it looks like, from what I could see, you actually kind of came up with a curriculum or a program that you created or innovated called TRAC, T-R-A-C. Is that yes? So,
it's called TRAC. I did not come up with it.
Okay, I apologize. But so I have TRAC, team building, regulation, awareness, and community.
And then there's like this silent K of kindness, right? But then we're TRAC teachers.
Oh, I see. I love it. So tell us a little bit about TRAC.
TRAC is amazing. TRAC was just an idea in 2017. And a mom of 4 boys, Sarah Wood, she is still the TRAC teacher at Parkdale Elementary and EUSD. So there's 9 schools. And so she started to pilot that program, literally just by also saying, there's a need. I can address this. And once I came out to California, I got my certification from Rutgers University in social, emotional, and character development for instruction in schools. And so then I ended up getting my own teaching at Del Mar, and I started my own program there as a social emotional educator. And so I really got to pilot my own program, see what it's like in the classroom, to build my own curriculum, write my own framework. And then I see an opening on EdJoin for a pilot for TRAC. So I got to be the pilot.
It's like then a match made in heaven.
It was. We developed the framework. I mean, it started as a 29-hour-a-week position at 2 schools. We built the framework, the curriculum, everything. And then by year 3, it was adopted by the district and launched to all 9 schools.
Wonderful.
And during the pandemic, right, we're home for 7 months.
Yes.
And it was required curriculum for the entire population.
Well, and if anything proved the need for social emotional help, it was the pandemic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it sped everything up by a decade.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So disconnected from human and other interaction, just from whether that was teachers, peers, both. That was just brutal.
It was wild.
And so, talk from that perspective. What was it like trying to help people with social emotional processing, and you're in this crazy paradigm that you can't even be around them and can't, touch them or give them a high five or anything?
Yeah, seriously. You ask great questions, because that's, right? I get to eat pancakes in between my online Zoom classes, but how am I going to change their lives, right? So that got to be a real work in creativity, because online attention.
Yeah.
If it's hard in a classroom, and I have them like this, right? I need them right here, or I will sense their distraction, which will distract me. So you get them on Zoom, and they're eating breakfast, or this one's, chasing the cat. It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So we kept it shorter, but really tried to just get more meaningful and connection. Some of them could not see each other in person. And it's honestly a blur to me, but I managed to post my lessons all the time and try and stay as engaged as I could. I remember holding up posters telling them I love them. Yeah. And then even when we went back 7 months later, we ended up having a cloud campus. So I was, Mission Estancia was the school that ran that. And so I was the TRAC teacher for that. And we did this thing called Love Projects, where it was what do you love? And show us with passion so we can love it too.
Nice.
So that way they could all play with tech and stuff. So a lot of that was you're stuck behind your iPad too. So let's get the tech involved some. So I got to learn a lot about, advances in technology to make education fun and engaging.
we were all forced to learn
Quick.
tech stuff rapidly. And as you said, it advanced some adoption of certain things quite a bit, including, I'm sure, acceptance of the value of social emotional learning, because, that was brutal. So another thing I noticed is you are, you're a speaker for the Sandy Hook Promise.
I was. Yeah, that was my first job here in California.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit, because that was, Sandy Hook, the school there that had that horrible incident back in 2012. And a lot of people, I had never heard of the Sandy Hook Promise before I was preparing to interview you today. So tell us what it is and what it's all about.
That particular shooting was one I truly remember because it was so close to the holidays.
Yeah.
I remember making an ornament that year with friends. That's what we did for our Christmas exchange. Yeah, again, saw an opening, was very intrigued, and I remember going downtown and training for days. But the Sandy Hook Promise was actually organized from the parents of the children lost.
Yeah.
So it was 21 kindergartners and first graders, I believe, in Newton, Connecticut. Always botched it. But they said, they took power into their own hands and they started an organization and they got funding. And so we were hired as speakers. They needed a variety of people to go into schools around the country, middle schools and high schools, and really kind of talk about, that was that whole Start with Hello movement. That was that whole see something, say something. That was also the whole, do we really need to outcast and isolate so much? Can we give people a break a bit, If you see someone alone, so we came up, they were Hey Day, and they had all these fun things. One of my favorite things that came out of that, and also the website Teaching Tolerance, is mix it up at lunch day. So the whole school gets to interact, and that way you can find connections that aren't just in your class or in your grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember training and I read so many books on and I'm a Tony Robbins lover. And I really admire his, passion and enthusiasm. So I would read all that, and then we had a script. And I went into schools, into San Marcos, and they were not ready for me, and I was not ready for them. And, yeah. I really would fail at some, but you have to, right?
Sure.
How do you know if you're going to be a public speaker if you're not up there and you're looking at them and you're like, do you hear me?
Yeah.
And it was scripted, and a lot of it, you don't realize how natural you can be until you have experience of presenting.
Right.
That it'll start to come from here, but I would still look at those slides. And I think it was horrible. And I remember I'd pack up and there'd still be a line of 10 kids waiting to tell me their story. So if that was 10 kids that had something from a demanded school assembly at 2:00 on a Monday, I was going to talk to those 10 kids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was.
And so the Sandy Hook Promise is a nationwide movement.
Yes, and they did have funding for that, and then they didn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I got to go into as many high schools and middle schools as I could locally, and they would be able to pay me for that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I was trolling your social media a little bit, and I saw, and you've already mentioned this a few times in passing, though, but kindness as a focus of what you do. And I saw a lot of stuff there. Now, do you guys participate in the Great Kindness Challenge week and everything? It looked like it.
Whole committee, and it's district-wide. And that's not even tracked. That's just parents in the community.
Yeah, well, it started here in Carlsbad with our friends at Kids for Peace, and has grown internationally now. And so I saw all that, and I saw some of the cool stuff it looked like you guys were doing, which was great. We're big supporters of that.
What do you think the first picture I took was? Carlsbad. It was the city of kindness or something.
Yes. Oh, very nice. Just in looking around, I saw some other stuff that looked really interesting. So talk about the power of student greeters.
I knew you were going to say that. We did not. Did we not? We did not know what was coming.
No, we didn't talk about it.
That's hilarious. I love the intuitive moments here. That is my favorite. It came up again today. that is something, it's like if I can teach schools the most minimal effort was what I saw that week during Kindness Week. So here's how it came about. Michelle Borba has a book called Thrivers. It's like a paragraph in the book about a student who loses his father, has no friends, and is like starting over in high school. How are you going to make friends, right? So he just starts opening the door. And people are like, doorman, or they're mocking him, or they don't even notice him. But he continues to do it for like 3 weeks. And then it becomes his thing. And then suddenly they're exchanging hellos, and suddenly he's getting the fist pumps, and he's just, it's happening. And so he did the hard thing. He did the awkward, the hard thing, the thing that no one else is doing. I'm going to pay attention to my school, my classmates, my peers. And I read that story, and when he graduated, they signed the door, and it's like his graduation.
Wow.
And I'm like,
what
yes.
A great
and so
story.
I read it to every class, and they were as into it as anything. And I was like, we're doing this year for Kindness Week.
Nice.
So they signed up, they could volunteer, and it was 2 students per class every day. So, everybody on campus is a door greeter. So instead of the students, in classes have freedom of choice, but instead of coming in and sitting down and doing a worksheet every day, and some people love the quiet enter and, get started and whatnot. But like you're starting your day connecting with your peers right then and there.
I love it.
From saying their names, like we had some kids bringing, like they got fortune cookies donated. So every kid is getting a fortune cookies.
That's so cool.
The giant hand, I don't know if you could
saw
see
that,
a visual.
Yes.
This incredibly creative mother twin daughter duo in 5th grade sewed and stuffed a giant hand.
And it's big.
It's big.
It's really big.
That was effort.
Yeah.
And then you could either get a giant high five, or they had a little mini finger hand. And it's like, you just started that day so beautifully.
That's awesome.
And they, and it was from kindergarten to 6th grade. And so you just got to hear that every class, every day is doing some sort of creative effort and connecting with their peers before starting their day. And is what you do once I started doing the research, finding out how many kids may not even be spoken to at home prior to starting school. Oh. That could be their only hello of the day. That could be the only time someone says their name. It just was like, this is huge. Like it starts the day with the ripple effect. Like, if I'm in my shell, if I had an argument with my sister or whatnot, and I come to school and you're right here greeting me, like it's a moment. It creates that ripple. It was the best week.
Sets the tone for the day.
Yeah.
What a great way to do the week.
Favorite week?
There was something that I saw on your site that said connection before content. And I thought that was very profound.
It's a good word.
I mean, there's a thing out there that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yes. And it made me think of that.
Same.
Yeah.
A twist.
And so I thought that was just really a beautiful thing, connection before content. And so what else? What have we not talked about? What have I missed that you want to share with the world?
Oh my gosh, you asked such great questions. Well, the connection before content, Character Strong is a great social emotional learning program. And I actually got to work with Houston, the co-founder, Houston Craft, during the pandemic as a freelance curriculum writer.
Ah.
And that might have come from him, the connection over content, but it's everywhere now. It might have come from Michelle Borba herself. And there is nothing more obvious than that.
Yeah.
Some people could be just erupting in the home the moment before they get to school, or just really having a day of loneliness. And that week, the vibe that it created on campus, the energy, the excitement, and it's like sure, some kids, kinder were giving like fruit snacks and bookmarks, but like one little like gold coins and there were so many favorites. We're going to do this every year. But another very, very fun project is that we recently started was I got these benches, 6 foot wide or 6 foot long, rather wide benches built and donated by like this beautiful family at our school. And I had a bench design contest. So any K through 6, whatever, anybody who wanted to, this is like, I put a, basic design of a bench and gave them a few weeks. It's kind of like a yearbook cover contest, right?
Okay.
And I didn't even give them leads. It wasn't like I was like, it's just they've been in track for 5 years and like it seeps in their blood or, it's in them now. And so they came up with all these beautiful designs. We picked 6. The 5th one is almost done and they're the most, it's unbelievable. And it's also organic and like just came out of their hearts and like they love kindness. And it really works in building, a connected school culture. And even just realizing that, like, siblings don't have to be that way. One of our activities today was just, it's about boundaries. And so I would read a situation and they'd hold a red card for not okay, crossing the line, a green card for, I like that. That's comfortable. And I played this really cheesy song on YouTube called the Boundary Song that one of my teammates found, right? I play one of the greatest things with SEL is you can do school-wide lessons and adjust the cheese. Like kinder can be a so cheesy goodness, right? Except for they're also so much deeper than we really give credit for. And then you go up to 6 and I can be like, this is what your buddies are listening to. And like, that's the way I get the video in, right? So it's this cheesy song and they're singing it all over campus. And so today before our school ended, I get some kiddos to come in and say, Happy Earth Day, be safe, be kind. And we're playing the YouTube Boundaries song and everybody in the classrooms like erupt in song. So I think one of my favorite things about this program is the freedom of meeting the needs at the school that you're at, because we have 9 very different schools. Yeah,
sure.
And getting to follow those kids. Like my very first grade class will be 6th graders next year.
Ah, okay. So they'll have made it all the way through.
Yeah. Like I know their little selves.
Yeah.
And that is so fun to me.
Stepping off into
I don't
fun
leave
word
them.
of middle school.
I don't say, yeah. And so I think more fun, creative projects are on the way.
That's great.
I think you'll love this. We had Kinder design a mural.
Ooh, fun.
So what do you think like they wanted on their mural?
Butterflies, sunflowers.
Check.
Yeah.
And
let's see. I don't know what.
Like a T-Rex surfing a hot dog.
Sure. Of course. That's great.
So it's on there.
Nice.
So this beautiful mural, I'll have to show you guys. I started from their little chicken scratch. We went around the campus, looked at professionally done murals, and now their kindergarten wall ball courts, which are 11 feet high, 8 feet wide, are now covered in their like drawings come to life. And
that's amazing.
It's so fun. So I think
so fun.
Art is coming, expression, and we talk a lot about feelings.
I bet that's what it's about.
It's a lot of that.
That's great. Well, I know you also have, your own personal passions. So fostered 92 dogs, huh?
Yeah, 91 dogs. Oh my gosh, you guys do your homework. Yes, love it.
One of your little pups is here. He's fast asleep, but and he's been
That's Maya.
very content throughout today. So
he's a she. But that's
I'm sorry, she. And then do you have currently any others that are yours right now?
Yeah, I got this little fluffy guy, Levi, who is the most expressive, sensitive little boy you've ever met. And he, in Kansas City, was like sleeping he's so genius. He was caught on camera in like a storage unit area, sleeping on pipes in February to stay warm.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't catch him for like 6 weeks because he was so smart. He could outsmart the food traps in February in Kansas City. So he's sleeping through that.
Winter.
And his little...
Wow.
So, yeah, he was a beautiful keep, as well as a 15-year-old Maya down
Maya,
here.
15 years old. Wow. That's great. Well, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to come down and share your passion with us and all of that. Carlsbad and Encinitas are very fortunate to have you here in the Encinitas School District and South Carlsbad schools and all of that, and really appreciate all that you do for our kids, our community, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for elevating these voices. I mean, I was in a tiny little paper, so I appreciate that made a world of difference. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio, and please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.